Good day, Coach Jude. Good day, everyone. My name is Rainier Sucgang from BSED English 1A. And today we will be discussing about the Module 5, which is the Learner-Centered Lesson Plan. But before we start, I will introduce you my Study Hub members, and we are the Study Hub 9. So, student-centered learning, which is the SCL, is an approach that allows students to take ownership of their learning instead of sitting passively and listening as the teacher delivers instruction. So, in SCL, students create learning goals. In addition, students engage with others, often by using technology to construct their learning. Finally, students monitor their progress, reflect on their learning, and make revisions to their goals based on the reflections. That during this process, teachers facilitate learning by providing appropriate scaffolds to support students' learning. In student-centered learning, postmodernism is a theory that questions grand narratives and objective truth. So it focuses on how truths emerge through contextual and subjective circumstances. So student-centered instruction, which is the SCI, is an instructional approach in which students influence the content, activities, materials, and pace of learning. So these learning models place the student in the center of the learning process. So the instructors provide students with opportunities to learn independently and from one another and coach them in the skills they need to do so effectively. So the examples of these are play-based learning, inquiry-based learning, project-based learning, and classroom debate, Montessori classrooms, and student-led conferences. So now moving on, now let's talk about the learner-centered lesson plan. So what is lesson plan? So a lesson plan is a teacher's daily guide for what students need to learn, how it will be taught, and how learning will be measured. So lesson plans help teachers be more effective in the classroom by providing a detailed outline to follow each class period. So this ensures every bit of class time is spent teaching new concepts and having meaningful discussion. So the most effective lesson plans have 6 key parts, which is the learning objectives, related requirements, lesson materials, lesson procedure, assessment method, and lesson reflection. So because each part of a lesson plan plays a role in the learning experience of your student, so it is important to approach them with a clear plan in mind. So that's all for my part, and I hope you learned something from my topic. Now let's proceed to the next reporter. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Angel S. EBOL from Study Hub number 9. So for my topic, I am going to discuss about the instructional learning processes. So in this topic, we are going to tackle about the learning objectives, the teaching content, and the lesson planning. Learning objectives. Instructional learning processes begin with defining learning objectives. These objectives specify what students should be able to do after the lesson. They are crucial for evaluating the lesson's effectiveness. To create effective learning objectives, use the SMART criteria. S is for specific, M is for measurable, A for attainable, R for relevant, and T is for time-bound. So specific, we must clearly state what student will learn. Measurable, objectives should be easily assessed, like through tests, projects, or observation. Attainable, on the other hand, the objective should be achievable by all students, considering their skill levels. And for relevant, objectives should align with the curriculum and student needs. And last but not the least, the time-bound. The objective should fit within the lesson's time frame. After creating the objectives, The next step in lesson planning is to outline the activities and assessments that will help students achieve those objectives. So next, we have the teaching content. So this part right here, we will deliver and explore throughout the lesson. So first, we must know what is teaching content in lesson plan. So this refers to the curriculum you will deliver and explore throughout the lesson. Learning activities integrate strategies to engage learners in active learning. How to gauge whether your contents answer those SMARTs indicators from your objectives. The role of assessments, either informal or formal assessment, are crucial to determining if learning objectives had been achieved in the class. And the last one, we have the lesson planning. So in lesson planning, there are 3-stage processes. First, we have the pre-planning, the lesson planning, and the implementation. So in pre-planning, this involves brainstorming, lesson content, selecting resources, and considering student needs and learning objectives before writing the actual lesson plan. 2. The lesson planning. So this part right here, this is where you write the lesson plan using a template. It's best to plan a few days ahead, allowing time for revision. Early in the year, plan fewer lessons at a time because you will still getting to know your students. As you become more familiar with your students, you can plan further in advance. Always update your plan based on students' feedback. A good lesson plan template will clearly show the objectives and steps to achieve them. And for the last one, we have the implementation. So this one right here, it involves delivering the lesson, monitoring student engagement, and continually refining the lesson based on what works and what does not. Successful implementation includes ongoing assessment to gauge student learning and identify areas for improvement.
Good day everyone, I am SHERHAN JACINTO from BSED English 1A, and now I'll discuss to you the lesson chunking and the minor teaching basics. So, chunking teaching is the way of dividing large pieces of information or text into smaller units of chunk to make information easier to understand and process by using this strategy. You, as a teacher, you can reduce the cognitive load of a student to help them to understand a topic using bits of information on one at a time. Chunking will also give you a clear idea about which portion of the topic is difficult for your student. You can use chunking for any length of context to enhance the learning process. It has a power to student memorize a wide range of information like location, letters, words, and even music. The step involves chunking process will depends on the information you wish to chunk. It involves the breaking of big pieces of context into smaller units, identifying any patterns, similarities, smaller chunks, organizing information into different groups, collecting similar groups that can study together. Why should we use chunking as a teaching strategy? Chunking context into smaller and manageable pieces is a great way of teaching new topics. Can derive a host of benefits if you strategically break down your content into smaller chunks. Here are a few notable benefits: reduce memory load, enhancing memorizing capacity. It helps students synthesize information easily, help them to identify difficulties, words, and phrases, make it easier to them to understand the idea of keywords in a better way, enhance their ability to compare. Good day everyone, I am SHERHAN JACINTO from BSED English 1A, and now I'll discuss to you the lesson chunking and the minor teaching basics. So, chunking teaching is the way of dividing large pieces of information or text step into the flow of a student to help them to understand a topic using bits of information on all of a time. Chunking will also give you a clear idea about which portion of the topic is difficult for your student. You can use chunking for any length of context to enhance the learning process. It has a power to student memorize a wide range of information like location, letters, words, and even music. The step involves chunking process will depends on the information you wish to chunk. It involves the breaking of big pieces of context into a smaller units, identifying any patterns, similarities, smaller chunks, organizing information into different groups, collecting similar groups that can study together. Why should we use chunking as a teaching strategy? Chunking context into smaller and manageable pieces is a great way of teaching new topics. Can derive a host of benefits if you strategically break down your content into smaller chunks. Here are few notable benefits: reducing memory load, enhancing memorizing capacity. It helps students synthesize information easily, help them to identify difficulties, words, and phrases, make it easier to them to understand the idea of keywords in a better way, enhance their ability to comprehend and paraphrase the content. So that is the end of my topic. Thank you.
Good day everyone, especially to you coach. I am SHERMALYN KARUS. So I'm going to discuss about the tips to use the chunking method effectively. So effective teaching strategies are crucial for optimal students' learning. One such method gaining popularity is the lesson chunking. So first, let us know what is a lesson chunking. So lesson chunking, it is an activity involves breaking down a difficult text into more manageable pieces and having students write these chunks in their own words. So one of the tips is the assess the learner's knowledge. So before you chunk the topic into smaller sections, try to assess your students' knowledge of the subject. So assessing prevents you from being repetitive and allows you to build on what the students already know. It will save your time and energy and give the students something new to learn. So that could be all about. Thank you.